I have the privilege of introducing Lloyd. He will be giving his icebreaker speech. Have you ever noticed that sometimes the things you need appear just when you need them? Lloyd Smith has, and he's happy it's happened again. Just as he was trying to figure out what to talk about for the icebreaker speech in his 8 confident communication manual, just the right thing appeared, an image from the past. We like to think that we're living our lives now, and the past, the dusty, nearly forgotten events of yesterday, is dead and gone. Well, maybe not. William Faulkner once wrote, "The past is never dead. It's not even past." In Project 1, the icebreaker from the Confident Communication Manual, Lloyd will examine what Faulkner's quotation means to him. Lloyd Smith and I Have a Picture.
Thank you, Julie. As it happens, I do have a picture. It's right here. This is what used to be called a snapshot for you youngins in the crowd. This one was taken in 1932, believe it or not. My brother and I stumbled upon this a couple of years ago when we were looking through some of the stuff my dad left behind when he died. I've blown this up a little bit so that you can get a notion of what this looks like. The interesting thing about snapshots as opposed to modern day, like iPhone pictures and whatnot, is that they're physically real. Like, I don't think I would still have my phone 60 years later like I have this picture right now. Take a look at that picture. What it shows are 2 guys sitting on top of a boxcar. The guy in the foreground is my dad, Lloyd Smith Sr. This was taken in 1932 when he was 21 years old. The guy in back, I have no idea who that is. I think it was just another guy riding on the boxcar. The picture was taken by my dad's cousin, Rex Price. My dad and Rex were on their way from North Dakota scouting for a better place to live. 1932 was the heart of the Depression, and the little farm town that they lived in North Dakota had dried up and blown away, so the family had to go somewhere else. Rex and my dad were supposed to find a good place. They went through North Dakota, Montana, northern Idaho, Washington, down the Oregon coast till almost the California border, and then came back to Spokane, and they decided that was the place they needed to be. So the entire family then moved out there after spending 2 or 3 years saving up enough money to buy a wrecked 1928 Buick touring car and turn it into what we would now call an RV. So people got in that thing and made it out here. Now, you might say, so what? But it's a pretty big so what. We've begun to lose track of this generation represented by my 21-year-old dad. These are the people who pulled America through the Great Depression and then, a few years later, through World War II. You can make a very good case that this generation was just as important as the generation of the Founding Fathers back in the 1700s, because there's a very real chance our country didn't exist had they not been willing to do what they did. The interesting thing about most of these people, and I'm talking here about, for some of you, your grandparents, maybe great-grandparents, is that many of them never talked much about what they went through. There are a lot of World War II veterans, for example, who never told anybody what they experienced in World War II. A lot of people who had horrific things happen to them in the Great Depression never told other people what they were like. That's a little bit different from today, if you think about it. You know, of course, they were deprived of people like Oprah and Dr. Phil and whatnot, so there was no one to sit there and complain to, as it is today. But they just did what they were supposed to do. They did their duty. Now, the interesting thing about this picture, I have another picture, but this one is only mental. And it's the picture of me at age 21. People who have seen this picture and who knew me back when I was 21 are shocked at how much I look like my dad. I didn't know that I looked this much like him until I saw this picture for the first time 3 or 4 years ago. The thing about that is that when I was 21, I was at the forefront of the baby boom generation. I was in college from 1966 through 1970. The whole summer of love hippie thing, the anti-war protests, all of that took place when I was in college. And all of us were convinced that we had nothing whatever to learn from anyone who was older than us. Nothing. Now that's kind of a general thing with teenagers in young people, but you have to have experienced that mid to late 60s era to understand that it wasn't just a feeling of being a kid. It was actually an ideological belief. We knew that nobody older than us had any notion of what was going on in the world. And we did. Now, I'm 68, so I've had plenty of time to think and say and do some really stupid things in my life. But of all of the stupid things I've thought or said or done, that was it back when I was in college. I'm glad I had that experience of living through that time, but I'm also very glad those days are gone, and I think the influence of that time was essentially negative on our country. But the point of this speech is to be the icebreaker for me, and what I'm trying to get across, and maybe not so well, is the idea that all of us have things like this in our past. We have a long chain of ancestors in back of us. And who knows what it is that we have not listened to them tell us. I forgot who to talk. Oh, there's our director. Yes.